Hi everyone, I'm Angie, partner and VP of Marketing at Growing, a women-funded and women-led creative agency. Today I'm thrilled to welcome you to another edition of our initiative Women Who Network, Stories of Connection and Success. As I always say, networking has played a key role in my career, and I have found through many conversations that it is an area that many women still don't feel confident in or need a little push to be encouraged to explore further. At Growing, we're motivated to inspire and empower women to feel more confident in networking, and we believe that by sharing stories and experiences, we can encourage them to connect and grow together. I'm super excited to introduce our special guest today, Gabrielle. Thank you so much for joining us and for being part of this initiative. I'm confident that your story will motivate many women to embrace networking with more confidence. Please let us know more about you. Can you introduce yourself to the community?
Yes, and thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here and share space with you. My name is Gabrielle Perez. I live in New York City and work here as well as a part of the Cannes Lions team. My title is Head of America, so I lead the entire partnerships team in the Americas region for the festival itself. So my team is tasked with the amazing work to be able to bring great partners from around the world to the festival in Cannes each year. And for those of you who may not be as familiar with Cannes Lions, our festival is the largest global gathering of creatives in the world. We have an amazing, diverse group of brands and agencies, consultancies, networks that come together in the south of France each year to celebrate the best in class work in the communications and marketing industry. So our bread and butter is our awards. You may have heard of the Lions Awards. These are the equivalent to the Oscars in the advertising industry. And because everyone has come together to celebrate the awards, it's become quite a big celebration and festival where there's lots of different client activations, networking that happens, which I know is what we're here to discuss today, and content and learning and inspiration as well. So that's a little bit about what I do. On top of that, I am half Puerto Rican. My being a Latina is very important to me, and I carry my culture in every space that I go into. And a big piece of my work in this new role that I've just had as head of Americas is to bring more Latinos to the festival each year, which is how we got connected, I know. So I'm so excited to be here and to meet this lovely community. And I'm here, of course, to help in any way that I can.
Yes, and it's truly an amazing event. I met Gabrielle in June when I first went to Cannes, and it was the best thing ever. We had so much fun, and also we networked a lot. So it's a great place to network and to build community as well. So let's start with the questions. When did
Sure.
you start networking, and how has your perspective evolved from when you first started to now?
Oh, great question. Gosh, I feel like I've been a little networker my whole life, mostly because I am a very extroverted personality. And at my core, I just love people. I love building relationships and I love the human story and learning about new things about people. So I feel like when I really started putting a conceited effort into networking, although I was so focused on building relationships my entire life, was probably in college when I realized it was really time to start figuring out how to build my career and find a job. At the time, I was a communications major going to the University of San Diego, and I had absolutely no clue what I wanted to do with my life. And I was very scared to be off on my own in the world without any financial support, and knew that the ways of the world, you likely get a job mostly because of who you know. And that is, I think, very much remains true to this day. So I started putting a lot of effort into networking with my community at my university and asking for help. And I think a piece of advice I can give to this community right off the bat is to not be afraid to ask for help. I think vulnerability is one of the biggest keys to doing networking properly. It's very scary sometimes to ask people to help you, but you won't regret that you did, because you'll be surprised to see that so many people want to offer help. I think how my networking has evolved over time is, let's see, to this day now in Cannes, I really make sure that I have actual tactical steps to how I network. So for example, festival, in a festival, there's so many people to meet. If you're not actually tracking who you're talking to and capturing that information and data right off the bat, as well as keeping notes on who you talk to, because you're going to be speaking to, 50 plus people a day, those networking connections are not going to go anywhere. They're going to fall flat. So I'm much more tactical in my approach these days. When I speak to people, I make sure to connect to them on LinkedIn right away. I keep notes in my phone about who I spoke to, their name, their position, and what we're both interested in. And then I follow up immediately to make sure that we get a call on the calendar in the coming weeks. So I think it's moved from more about figuring out how to navigate being vulnerable and asking for help to, okay, now that I've crossed that hurdle, making sure that I have tactical steps in place that I can actually follow up on these networking conversations.
Yes, that's so important. And talking about keeping the relationship going, how do you establish genuine and meaningful connections when you network?
Yeah, great question as well. I, again, always think human first. So I believe truly that in order to do good business, you have to work with good people who are aligned with your values, and understanding them and their drivers from a personal perspective, also as a professional perspective, is really great. So obviously in the Latino community, we love to help each other and we love to learn about each other. And so typically I'll ask them, like, where are you from? Where's your family's from? Where did you grow up? What's your story? How did you get into this work? And really try to build a personal connection with the people that I talk to, which then naturally leads them to sharing why they love their job and why they're interested in what they're doing. And that becomes a much more natural evolution to discover ways in which we can organically collaborate, right? I think what people can sense very quickly if you're trying to sell them something. It doesn't work. And I also am not interested in selling something that's not going to be in benefit to the person that I'm speaking with or the client that I'm serving. So my goal always in my networking is to genuinely understand the interests and the passions and the goals of prospective clients. Take that and then really think about what could I potentially offer them that could help them.
Oh.
And when you break it down to that really simple kind of philosophy, I think that's what really drives the most organic and amazing contributions and collaborations moving forward. So that's kind of how I like to approach it.
Yes, that's amazing. And the interest part is really key. And also, like, what is valuable to people that you meet, and then to help achieve that goal or provide that value, because sometimes value is different for everyone that we meet in, especially if we network with a lot of people, like for example in Cannes. So I think it is really important to understand how to bring value to them and know what value means to them, because sometimes
Yes.
you think that something is valuable and maybe it's not for the
Yeah.
specific person that you're meeting. So I think that's really amazing and key. And what's the most unexpected opportunity that has come from a networking event or connection?
I think one that I'm quite proud of is my work with FIFA over the last year. So most people are familiar with FIFA as a massive organization. Obviously, they run the World Cup for football, or soccer, as we call it in the US. And I actually got connected to FIFA through an old client of mine that I actually hadn't managed that account for several years. Another thing about networking and maintaining relationships that I feel very strongly about is, even if these are not clients that I'm technically responsible for anymore, I'm not going to just stop the relationship. Making sure that you're staying in touch with these people who you worked with, who you became friends with, is really important. You never know where these people might change jobs, be helpful for you in your career. And I just think it's a terrible thing to let go of a relationship just because it doesn't serve you anymore, right? Like, I genuinely care about these people that I work with, and that means a lot to me. So I kept in touch with these past clients of mine for multiple years. At every industry event I would go to, I'd make sure to see them, check in on them. How are they doing? Take them to lunch. And I got an email actually in the 2023 festival that one of the folks from that old company that I worked worked with was actually transitioning to a new role at FIFA. And that is how I actually got connected to the FIFA organization. They ended up coming to Cannes through me with a big beach partnership in 2024, which was such an incredible moment for the festival and for FIFA. And so that's one that I find to be a really great story of networking and connection. I would have never had an in route to that organization if I wouldn't have kept up those relationships from that past client.
That's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing, Gabrielle. I
Of
think that
course.
keeping relationships going is really important. And in this case, you were like on relatively the same position, maybe when you met the person and then they got into FIFA and stuff. But also, I think, especially when we're in a good place in terms of work and in relationships and stuff, we need to keep going because sometimes we tend to slack when we
Yeah.
get our dream job or when we stop posting on LinkedIn or we stop reaching out to people that we've already met. But I think it is really cool to maintain these relationships even when you're on top of the world, because I think we can be of value. I think we can continue, delivering value and giving value to people. And
Yeah.
I think that's really important. And do you have a favorite community or event that you can share other from Cannes? Give us any recommendation.
Ooh, let's see. I think currently my favorite community is, and it has to do with Cannes, but is our Hispanics in Cannes WhatsApp group. I find it to be so inspiring. And this is a group that was created organically through a lot of Latinos that were coming to the festival and just wanted to find community at the festival. And it has since become, again, in a WhatsApp group where we all share our challenges, our, events that we're promoting, our success stories, and we're really able to keep learning and growing with each other and for each other. And a recent example of how I felt so empowered and loved by this community is I was going to Mexico City for the first time for a series of roadshow events that my business was holding to interact with the local market in Mexico, which was really exciting. Again, it's a really big goal of mine to bring Latin America more into the festival fold. And I posted in that WhatsApp group, "Hi friends, going to Mexico City for the first time. Any suggestions? Anyone want to network on the ground? Anything I should be aware of?" And the amount of support I received, it was incredible. I had so many amazing meetings in Mexico with so many industry thought leaders. I learned so much about the market. And so I think, again, that community for me right now is my favorite, but I would also just encourage anybody listening to try and tap into existing communities that they may already have, whether that's a cultural group, whether that's your university alumni group, and also make sure that you're doing a steady cadence of event attendance throughout the year. So if you're in the advertising and communication industry, for example, making sure that you're going to Adweek events, making sure that you are looking at what Marketing Crew is up to. They have a great summit they host every year. Really being tapped into the market and showing up live, because you get so much done when you're in person versus over email.
That's so cool. I'm actually on that group and it's pretty cool. Thank you so much.
It is.
And do you have a question for me?
Ooh, I think my question is, you obviously are at the forefront of helping incredible women learn how to get the best out of their careers. And you've now had quite a few of these conversations. So what do you think is a really key tip that you hear from a lot of these women that you talk to? Like, what's something that if someone saw you on the street and said, "Give me one piece of advice," what would you give?
I think it's really important to understand that you can invest in yourself even for soft skills, because sometimes we take courses for hard skills, technical skills, but confidence, networking, and there are a lot of soft skills that you can improve and you can take courses for. And I think that's why we created this initiative as well. But it's really key. I think soft skills are amazing, and I think they should be developed. So thank you so much for the question, baby.
Yeah, it's a great answer.
Last question. What advice would you give to women who are hesitant to engage in network?
I would say do some reflection work about where that hesitation is coming from. And most of the time, I would argue that it comes from a place of fear. And a lot of that fear has to do with rejection, right? it's scary to ask someone for help and then be rejected. And what I would challenge these women is all of us as women know what it feels like to be rejected in many different ways throughout our life. However, for every rejection that you get, there's so many doors that are willing to open for you and so many people that have outstretched hands to help, and to try as best as possible to know that your fear is valid, but to not let that fear stop you, because there's so many people out there who are really wanting to help, and that you'll be so genuinely surprised to see how many people reach out to meet you when you ask for help. But the first step comes from your vulnerability and being able to ask. So my advice is really do the work to see how you can unlock those fears, to be able to be that first step, to taking that first step, someone is going to meet you, and then the rest of the steps become so much easier from there.
That's so cool. And I think now that you talk about rejection and us not wanting to get rejected, I think that we're rejecting ourselves if we don't take this step and we
That's
don't
right.
appreciate the value that we're bringing, because sometimes it's also like, but what am I offering? I don't know if I provide enough value. So it's really important to do it, to take the step, and to, ask for help, as you said at the beginning, and, continue to do it. So thank you so much, baby, for sharing your incredible insights with us. It's truly inspiring to hear from how networking has shaped your journey. To all of you listening, reading, or watching, remember your network is your net worth. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories in our next edition of Women Who Network, Stories of Connection and Success. And if you want to be part or propose someone for this space, please email me to Angie@growing.com. Until next time, keep networking and growing. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.